I see this a lot in medicine, and I'm seeing that people keep putting themselves into a poor position. And it's kind of related to this talk about burnout. It's related to kind of this overarching feeling of physicians feeling that they're trapped within the system. And I think we need to break out of this because there's no reason that a person that makes $500,000 a year should feel trapped in the system. That's a wrong feeling, and it has less to do, I think, with the system than it does to do with the physician themselves. And so this is kind of some thoughts I've been having on this. You have to learn how to get yourself out of a bad position and put yourself into a decent or good position. And it's up to you. I'll tell you what I mean by a bad position. I see a lot of this. In fact, I see a lot of people talking about this, that they have put themselves in this position. They have gone to medical school. They have taken on debt, anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 in debt. Let's say the number is actually closer to $300,000 now. They have chosen a specialty, potentially a specialty that does not pay well, or maybe they have chosen a specialty that does pay well, but they've chosen a specialty where they don't feel that they can pay the debt off right away. And add to that, they're getting into things that they want to get into as physicians. They're getting out from their residency or the fellowship, and they're immediately going to live in a high-priced metro area. And then also immediately they're deciding to buy a house. Why? A lot of reasons. A lot of people feel that a house is the right thing to do, or it's the American dream, or that if they buy the house now, it'll gain value and appreciate. Probably all those things are true. But in any case, they go ahead and they buy that house, and again, in a nice metropolitan area, that house might be close to $1 million. So you're talking about you've got $300,000 in debt or more. You buy $1 million house in a metropolitan area, and then compound that with the fact that physician jobs in the metropolitan areas don't tend to be very good. Why? Because it's supply and demand. The supply of physicians is pretty high. Physicians are always wanting to move out to these areas. And then the quality of the jobs is kind of low. And there's a lot of corporate medicine in these metropolitan areas, and the reason for that, and I could get into that in a different video, but corporate medicine thrives where there are weak physician practices, because corporate medicine gives you a strong backing that a weak physician corporation cannot achieve. But that's a different story. That's a different video. So we're saying bad position. So you're in debt, $300,000 in debt. You buy $1 million home. Now you're in more debt. You take a job potentially with a corporation in a metropolitan area. The corporations all work the same because every corporation is the same. United States is a corporation, by the way. The United States takes about 20 to 30% of your paycheck right off the top, and that's the same way how a corporation works. Corporation that you're working for in medicine is going to take 20 to 30% right off the top of your earnings. So you're working hard in this job to make less. You're working hard to make less. Your expenses are high. You've taken on a mortgage, which is large. You've already got educational debt, and you set yourself up where you need to work for a long period of time. Now add to that these jobs, they're never exactly what you think they are when you sign up for them. So then when you start the job, you subjectively experience this thing called burnout, where basically you feel that you're working so hard that it's not sustainable. And now you're trapped. Now, unfortunately, you have put yourself into a very, very bad position. You are now trapped because you are now stuck. You have educational debt that you can't get rid of easily. You've got mortgage debt. You can't move because you'd have to sell your house, and selling your house takes effort and money. And you're in a job that you may not like, that you can't leave. So right there, you have put yourself in a very bad position. There's no need for physicians to do this to themselves. There's no need for this. This is what you have to understand, that if you're a high-earning physician, now keep in mind, whether you're working for a corporation, hospital-based employee, or if you're private practice, you should be able to command a reasonable check. And there's no reason that a physician should feel, quote-unquote, poor. But what happens is they put themselves in this bad position, and then they will feel poor because they can't leave that job that has a high rate of burnout because they don't have the means to do so. They've plugged themselves into that lifestyle. So what you have to do is you have to resist. You have to resist all these things, and you have to fight it out for yourself. One place I got a lot of information for how to fight this battle, I guess you could call it that, or just call it putting yourself in a good position. I got a lot of information on this from the White Coat Investor website. And it's all there. It's all there. It's all free. And it's a lot of it comes from the site founder, Dr. Dahl, but a lot of it comes from contributors. A lot of it comes from other physicians. And then there's also forums that sort of physicians tell you about all these things. And it's really straightforward what you can do to put yourself in a good position. What you can do is just the exact opposite of all the things I said. You tackle your student debt. You get rid of it. You don't rush to buy a home until you know what your job's going to be like. And potentially you avoid coastal areas that have high work output, low income jobs, and you seek out a different job that's the opposite of that, and maybe a different location. And that's kind of how you gain some footing and some ground. And then if your job is bad, if you feel you're experiencing burnout, you have the option to potentially leave that job. But because as physicians accept these bad jobs with high rates of burnout, they basically have altered the market themselves. They have altered the market for their against their favor. So again, it's up to you to change the market by not taking on the jobs that have a poor work-life balance. So I know it's a bit long-winded, but that's kind of what it is here. I mean, basically realize what you're getting into. Don't put yourself in a hole that you can't climb out of. If you're in debt, don't go into more debt. Don't go into a situation you don't completely understand. Don't box yourself in and then complain on Twitter or some other medium about, I'm burned out. You shouldn't be burned out. If you're burned out, you should leave your job. I mean, it's that simple. If you don't like what's going on in your job, you should leave your job. It's that simple. Why can't you leave your job? Well, it's just the things I said. The reason you usually can is that you're indebted to the area that you live, the home, the bank, the government. That's not where you want to be. That's no place you should be as a physician. As a physician, you should be indebted to no one. You should be in the care of only one thing, and that's the patient. And you should be able to command for yourself a reasonable living anywhere you would like, but on your terms. So start thinking like that, and get away from this idea that burnout, workplace stress, this is this thing that I cannot control. It is not. It is not like that. Stroke arm day.